Good morning. Welcome to Sales Chatter, the logistics podcast where we aim to help 10,000 reps hit a million GP. I'm your co-host, Ryan Mohammed, aka the Logistics Monk. With me is the master of the universe, the master of sales in logistics, my man Dan Deegan. What's going on, my brother?
I'm I'm probably I feel like I'm a little green and caught off guard here, Ryan. I'm trying to repost. I don't know how to do
It's all good, my man. It's all good, man. We can all learn
it.
something, So
I haven't been on. I like took a year off, right? And I'm sitting here and I'm going and just when you typed it in the chat, I'm like, oh my god, and so I'm in panic mode. That was hilarious. Sorry, caught me way off guard there, brother. Because we are posting from the Sales Chatter Live page today.
all right, so let's get into it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
There we go. Again, that's social media marketing. So, Dan, today's something that I always look forward to when we can actually have people join us to share their expertise, share their stories, and I think most importantly, teach our audience about things that they've been through ourselves. So, without further ado, we have an amazing guest. We have Seretha Willingham, the founder and CEO of SJW Logistics, a third-party based logistics company providing freight transportation, warehousing, and e-commerce fulfillment. I always love these conversations because you and I, we always have our funny stories of how we got into logistics. Saritha was actually in the project management side of her career, and then she decided, you know what, I'm gonna acquire something brand new for myself and give something a shot. So she acquired a small trucking company with 5 trucks, and during the pandemic, she's definitely built up herself with a warehousing arm, and she continues to grow within her company. And I'm really looking forward to everybody listening to her because she's actually been recognized as a top 10 3PL by the Logistics and Transportation Review magazine. So you think about that, right? You want a heavy hitter. You want somebody who's about your customers' goals and yourself. You hit up a top 10 rep today. What do you think about that, Dan?
I love that. And you know what, to do it in such a short period of time, I think is absolutely phenomenal. It shows you dedication. It shows you, entrepreneurial spirit. And you know what? A 5 truck trucking company can actually do pretty well for you. Like even before you do a brokerage and a warehouse on the side and stuff, you run a 5 truck company very well. You can do very well for yourself. And what is our maybe Saritha will have better insight in this, but I think in the US, like 92% or 80, like it's in the high 80s, low 90s% of the market is small trucking companies, right? Not like us
Mhm.
where we're pretty much, I guess we're mid-tier for Canada, but Canadian trucking companies have no size barrier compared to the US. Like a big company in the US is a Transforce in Canada, right?
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's what's really important to the and looking to pivot too, right? Because we'll bring her on and she'll talk about experience, but like understanding that I need to like pivot in my business that hey, I'm going to open up this 22,000 square foot warehouse to be more of a service for my customers. I'm going to open that 3PL as well and kind of expand on it. So because we always hear like full solutions, what does that actually truly mean? So without further ado, I know we're talking the niceness about her, but we got to bring her on because she is on our show today. So once again, want to welcome to Sales Chatter Live, Seretha Willingham. Welcome to the podcast. We're excited to have you. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Awesome.
Yeah, we
Well,
couldn't be
thank
better
you
now that
for
you're with us
having
here.
me.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing to kind of see and have that genuine conversation with you. So we'll kind of get started, get it out of the way a little bit. We love to go into origin stories here, Saritha. So how did you and SWJ Logistics get together and how did this happen to where we're speaking right now?
Yes. So again, thank you for having me. And you keep saying SWJ. I think you think about SWV, but it's SJW, trucking and delivery. So, but we got started back in 2020. There was an existing trucking company from someone that I knew that was looking because right before the pandemic happened, trucking rates, everything was down. Trucking companies were going out of business. And I said, hey, well, let me try this, let me do this, and let me see how far it can go. So the company really just celebrated its 6-year anniversary because it was really started in 2017, but I didn't get involved and take over until 2020. There when I kind of turned some things around, and like I say with my story, we grew from 5 trucks to 12 trucks by October of 2020 because we did a mix of owner operators. So with that, I took my experience because I was working for a large 3PL logistics company, and I took everything I learned and put it into this small business. So a lot of my people tell me today, my employees and everything, so you really run the company. You don't run the company like a small business owner there.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. So, first and foremost, sorry about mistaking the name. Definitely SJW, and learning from a bigger company and running your business the way that it needs to be run. What are some things that you've kind of like you've brought over from your previous career, like working for a large 3PL, and brought that into kind of the culture of where you're at right now?
I think the most important thing I brought over from working from a large company is start right in the beginning with some processes, expectations, organization in the workforce to be able to have everyone on the same page. As a project manager and doing projects most of my career, just having a scope and a goal to focus on and knowing when to pivot. I think sometimes when I evaluate myself, I look at sometimes I move too slow because I wait on things to happen. Like, oh, let me see if this is going to change. Let me see if that's going to change, which large companies do it too. But I think the biggest thing I have been able to bring is they know when to pivot. They know when to call it and say, hey, let's cut this and move on to something else. And being able to do that in my business has helped us tremendously.
Have you, and I think this is a very important point for a lot of the salespeople out there, because in sales, sometimes it's hard for us to cut off and pivot because it's like you're thinking, oh, that prospect, I mean, I'm going to get them in like 2 calls, and then 12 calls later, you still don't get them. How do you help your team understand and again, to double on that, what do you look at? Is there certain things you look at when you figure, okay, it's time to cut it off and move on, even if it's a lost leader and you lost money or whatever? What is your way of looking at something and saying, okay, here's time to cut it, and how do you teach your people to do that?
That is a great question because I go through that because I have, I call them daily scrum calls with my brokerage team, because that's what they do. They're reaching out to prospects. They're thinking they're going to get them in 2 calls. And then, 30 emails later, 10 phone calls later, is still no response or anything like that. But like I tell them, we put timelines on it. Industry shows that it takes about 6 months to just get a response sometimes from a person. And what I tell them also is everyone has a season. So when we're reaching out to people, they may not need us in that season. So before you do that, make sure you're targeting someone ahead of their season, because I'm strategic there. So it's no point in me contacting a pecan customer in January. There ain't no pecans falling off the tree, So I try to have them look at things smart, to be able to say when you're putting in the effort. Now we're coming up on retail season, right? Everything that needs to be in the stores by September for Black Friday is being shipped now. So prospect those people, because somebody's going to have a transportation issue. You might get a lead a little bit or close a deal a little bit sooner than you would prospecting someone that don't really need those services right now because they're in their down season.
So are you seeing a seasonality hitting, or are you just is it more of a trajectory saying, hey guys, listen, team, listen, if it happens, it's going to happen. So make sure you start connecting now, because I would assume a lot of the retail people are going to kind of take their vacation in the next month or two. So they're back in time to gear up for their retail season. It's like starting in September, right?
Yes. And I am actually seeing a lot of seasonality there. I am seeing a lot of people get out of office responses. So I am seeing that. Seems like to me, it's more like people are getting back on track after the pandemic. They're trying to find their balance and things and see how to reconnect with people.
I think it's both sides, right? Mm-hmm. In sales and the shippers, that is the whole what do they keep calling it, Ryan? The new normal? Is that can we
I
actually
don't
do
know. I
that
feel like
these
yeah,
days?
it's always kind of
Yeah,
changing, right? And I think like
yeah,
for us, like when you're talking to like to your daily team on your Scrum calls, they're seeing things that we're not going to see. You know, for sometimes we're busy doing other things and running the business for there. When you so you start like you mentioned, you started off with a 5 truck operation, went to 12 trucks in the same year, and then you open up. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like to open up that 22,000 square feet warehouse? Did you have any experience with warehousing before you got into it? What lessons did you kind of learn and are still learning with the warehousing arm of SJW? Sorry.
Yes. So I did not know warehousing from a physical labor standpoint. I learned that the hard way there, but I did know warehousing from an IT standpoint because the projects that I worked on, I had to learn everything in logistics for the 3PL I worked for. So I did know it from processes, technical software perspective, how things should work. So when we decided, when my team and my advisors and I, we sat down to look at opening a warehouse. Warehouse was not the first thing on the list. What we were doing was our business planning session for what we wanted to diversify our service offerings in. So we had the trucking company, but we didn't want to totally depend on the trucking company, right? Because when trucks go down, maintenance and all that, that's your revenue. So we wanted something else to be able to fall back on. So the next thing we looked at was a roadside service because I was like, these roadside bills are killing me in this trucking industry. So I was like, maybe if I get my own roadside, I can make back some of the money. But then the more and more we looked at it, we were like, no, that just it doesn't trigger. It wasn't like that feeling like, yes, that's it. No. So then we looked at warehousing and it was like, okay, my team advised like that would make us a full service 3PL. We could do it all from moving their loads, storing their loads to pick and pack, because we do that as well. And just being able to give that holistic approach to our customers. And so before we made that final decision on that, we actually ended up calling some of our customers saying, hey, if we decided to get into warehousing, would you be interested in using us for your warehousing services? And some of them said yes, some said no, but then we started getting referrals from those that knew of customers who were looking for warehousing services at the time. And we ended up actually starting in my garage for one customer before our warehouse was ready. So that is how we actually ended up getting into warehousing by looking for something to diversify our service offerings with.
It's like a digital launch for your warehouse. That's pretty cool for you to do that. That's actually very intuitive to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And it worked. I have a lot of people contact me now and say, how do I get in warehousing, or what should I do how do I find customers? And I said, I wish it was that easy.
We don't all have that Staples button, right? Where we can all say, hey, this is easy. And it's one thing that, and not necessarily like pivoting, like you saw that there was a need for it. Like you talked about the roadside. It's like, okay, well, you decided that you're going to do something about it. You saw the fees were way too high and you took it into your own hands. And I think the message is, especially for newer sales rep getting there, and that's where our message is for, is sometimes you just got to handle it yourself. You got to figure it out. You got to learn. You kind of got to put in that work. Like you said, you didn't know warehousing from the labor point of view, but you did. You figured it out, and now people are coming to you for the expert portion of it. So I think that is remarkable to do that. Did your 3PL arm open around the same time too, or was that opened with the asset portion when you opened the company?
No, we started asset. We grew the asset portion in 2020, but we did not open the warehouse until 2021. It was almost a year later.
Okay, so
do you actually have a 3PL arm as well, or you just have salespeople that broker freight out, or is it more of a dispatch arm?
Oh, we have salespeople that actually broker freight out. So it's 3 parts to us, or 4, as I call it. We have our freight transportation. So we have our asset-based side where we have 17 assets on that side, and we're growing. So we are back on our 2021 plan that got butchered due to the economy. We're back on that plan to grow our fleet to 25 trucks by December 31st. So come June 1st, we will have 20 trucks there. We've already prospected, and we're in the process of leasing some people on, as well as growing our fleet. And I also see my vendor team Vanguard on here as well, who are very supportive, and they're helping us grow our fleet by leasing brand new trucks to be more attractive to our customers as well. So I had to give them a shout out. And we have the warehousing side where we're leasing that 22,000 square feet. So we have it at two sides to our warehouse. We have order fulfillment where we do pick and pack for our e-commerce customers who sell online. We tell them stop picking and packing in your garage or your basement and let SJW handle that. And then we have our storage side where we just store product for customers. And then we added our brokerage actually last year. So this May, the brokerage is celebrated its first year there to complement it, because we had so many trucks going down at one time there, and so many parts were on back order. Our customers were like, well, you figured out everything else for us. When we needed a truck, you figured that out. When we needed a warehouse, you figured that out. When we needed shipping, you figured that out. You can't figure it out when you don't have a truck. So then we added our brokerage, and our customers allowed us to broker freight. So I tell people we're a one-stop shop. We can do it all on one invoice for you.
I love that.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
the
that
natural evolution of a lot of trucking companies is they, into the brokerage and then into the warehousing and into the pick and pack and everything. And it's, you have those roller coasters on every one where brokers doing this, trucking's doing this, and it's a nice level. It's a nice level. Have you got into international at all?
Not much. We do a little bit of imports and exports for some of our customers as well. We are in the Georgia Foreign Trade Zone. We recently activated our warehouse to be in the Georgia Foreign Trade Zone where we can do bonded warehousing. So we're learning more and more about that, bonded transportation, as well as trying to find those customers overseas that need that shipping and receiving, because Georgia does have a program where they're trying to build their export and build their international shipping. So we've been doing a lot of work in that area.
Okay.
That's amazing to kind of see. I want to ask you a question in regards to, so you've definitely built this amazing, I want to call it this amazing business. How important is it for you to have like the right people in the right positions within your company for growth? Specifically, what does that look? What does growth look like at SJW?
It is very important to have the right people in the right places. And the reason why I say that, because at the end of the day, we are a small business. And a lot of small businesses, the leaders of those small businesses get caught up in doing it all. Like I said earlier, I learned warehousing the hard way because staffing issues. I had to be out there packing orders, moving pallets, different things like that. But this year I've been able to get the warehouse fully staffed up. And that allows me to be focusing on the things that are more important for the company, sales, marketing, bringing in new business, bringing in new companies, looking at how we can grow to that next level. And in order to do that, I can't be involved in the day-to-day tactical operations. I have to have the right people on the team that I can trust to be able to take care of the customers and run the operations while I look at how can we get to the next level. So it's very, very important to have the right people on the team.
I love that. I love that. And I think you put in the people, that's the right word for growth, because you did it by yourself. I want to switch it up a little bit. Maybe we'll come back into a little bit, talk about logistics. But you as a person, Seretha, you've done amazing things. You have a young family with your husband and your two kids. Like you said, you can't get involved with the daily things. What does work-life balance look like to you? Because I know off here you mentioned that you went out and had a great time on the weekend. But when does it kind of switch? Like, okay, mom boss to being mom and being present. What does that look like for you?
Actually, being that I have a full staff now, there that I can trust, work-life balance actually looks like a 9 to 5 to me, believe it or not. So when I'm working after hours or on weekends, it's because I'm choosing to. Because now that I have a team where I can delegate the day-to-day stuff to and focus on the more strategic stuff, it gives me that flexibility to be a mom, to be a wife, to be able to plan different things, to be able to go to events. So I can actually say I have a work-life balance now, but I do remember the days where I did not have a work-life balance of being up, almost 24 hours because it was just me.
Just you. Can you dive a little bit deeper into that? Because, like you said, when the days where it was just you alone, right? And understanding, how did you convey that message, like with your family, your friends? Obviously, a social life is going to take a hit to that. That look, I'm building something for us. I'm building
Mhm.
something in the future. Just give me some time. Because I felt that same way too. I know Dan could say with his family, like when I first started building my book of business, I would tell my wife, okay, this is the expectation. I'm going to be here, let's say, for 8 to 10 hours a day. We might not be able to go away on our nice vacations, but please just give me like a year. Let me really do in the work. And now we get to enjoy that. What did those days look like, if you could tell the audience a little bit more, basically at the ground level?
Sure. So it looked like my daughter, who is now 11, who was 7 at the time, was like, "Mommy, you went," because I got laid off, which gave me the drive to focus on this company and grow it. She was like, "Mommy, I feel you work more now than you did when you were working in corporate America." But like I told her, it's a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. So it's with that explaining to them, like, it won't be this way all the time, but anything that's worth having, you got to put in the work, right? You got to put in the time, you got to put in the work, you got to make sure that what you're doing makes sense and you're seeing some results. So what I would do to kind of help balance things out, when we had a good month or a good week or something, I would try to go out and celebrate the small wins. So you can see, like, hey, there is some reward in this if you be patient with me. But it's not like you say the nice vacations we were having before, but it is a fun night at David and Buster's or something like that, to say I didn't forget about you all. Or even with my friends and everything, hey, I can't go out with you all maybe once every 6 months there, and I'll make time. But I really have to stay focused on this because I don't want to drop the ball, because I'm putting in a lot of work on this.
Saritha, there's another side to that,
Hmm.
and that is subconsciously your daughter's seeing a very strong woman make it in the world. And I was the exact same way. Hardly when I was first started to build my business, I hardly saw my kids. Um, they were too young to have the conversation with. And then one day at the table, we're at the dinner table, and something came up about working. My daughter said, "Daddy, you're one of the hardest workers and most dedicated people I've ever seen in my life." And I kind of just stopped and I looked at her, and she says, like, "I can't believe how dedicated and hardworking you are." And it's not from the conversation, it's from what they see.
Right.
And your daughter sees a woman who's strong, who's building something, and as young as she is, she knows. And there might be those rough times which you probably have had throughout the years. There's the issues, the conversations that come up, sometimes arguments that come up. But in the end, our kids see what we do,
Yes.
and that is one of probably the most powerful things ever. And even our spouses, nobody in this world has made it without somebody really strong standing beside them. Like,
Hmm.
right, like even Henry Ford, you look at Dyson, you look at all of these huge names, and it's their better half, as we call it, that was their biggest supporters.
Yes.
And I think you got it. You're showing your team by, like Stacy says, you don't have to be getting your hands dirty. You're actually leading by doing. And
Hmm.
that's the way real leaders lead. They're not just, I'm not going to say dictators, but, like bosses that says, do this, do that.
Hmm.
Everyone on your team, including your family, knows that you'd be the first one to do it if you're asking them to do
Right.
it. Right. So,
Exactly.
like, to you, congratulate, like, unbelievable, unbelievable. And I can't wait to hear um, some of the things that come out in the next 5 to 10 years and watching what you do, because you're going to inspire a lot of people.
Thank you. Thank you. And you're right. She's watching. And I am her biggest inspiration, because now, it's molding her into what she thinks she may have to do or be when she grows up, versus my 3-year-old. He comes to the warehouse and it's like, can I ride on a pallet jack? So,
Yeah. Not
so
only that, you're showing your daughter that you can pivot, right? Like
yes.
corporate America, you got to remember, right? Like corporate America is that kind of safe
Hmm.
environment, right? Like I know when I was growing up, it was always, you go to a company, you get a great job, you be there for 30 years, you get the watch, and all that kind of jazz. Um, to do what you're doing at a time when you did it. Remember, because you said like 2019, you jumped in. That was one of the worst times in trucking rates. 2008 9 economy, but 2019 trucking rates. Then you saw this massive gain during COVID, and it could, as a new business owner, it could give you a fictitious view of what business looks like, because everyone's making money. And now you're like, I love the fact that you've got this holistic view, kind of like this 30,000 foot view, but you're going, okay, but that, you know, we enjoyed that time, but that time's not lasting. Okay, let's look 6 months out and plan for that. Like, you've got an amazing vision for that company. And, you know, the time you came in to now, like, you were on one of the biggest roller coaster rides in logistics history, and you wrote it really well. It's very, very inspiring. Very inspiring. I love it.
Thank you. And I think you summed it up great. It's a roller coaster ride. Logistics is a roller coaster ride. You know, because like
sometimes it drops your stomach right through your butt.
It does. It really does. And you know, because again, like you said, logistics, it's good. The economy controls logistics, right? So we are a third party. We depend on sales. We depend on people buying stuff. We depend on items being ordered. So, you know, if sales are down, people don't need us there. So the ups and downs of logistics can be really tough. So being able to survive in this industry is huge.
You know, I'm so glad you said that, because Ryan, did you just catch that?
Yeah.
That is like a gem for any salesperson watching, right? We depend on our customers to make sales, who depends on the individuals to buy their stuff. So how do you recession-proof your business?
If I actually knew how to do that, I promise I would make a lot of money. But, you know, honestly, we prepared. The whole time we were making money, we had reserves. I was saving. I am a big saver. If I have $5, I'm going to try to save $2.50. I might save it next week. I mean, I might spend it next week, but I'm going to save it that week. So I remember saving, because I said, the economy is going to change. They're going to be, rates are going to balance out. You can't be this way forever. We cannot price gouge on our customers. We need long-term business. So while we did increase our rates to kind of supplement those high fuel prices, we didn't price gouge. And I can remember my other peers in the logistics industry telling me, oh, they getting over on you. I get this much to go to this area for this load, or I get this. But see, I knew that this day would come where you can barely find a load in some areas, you know. And so my goal was, how can I keep the company afloat to be able to survive when the economy tanks again? What can we do? And we had to pivot. For us, what is working is we always focused on volume, while my peers would take, oh, I need at least, and I'm just throwing out some numbers from Savannah to Atlanta, I need at least $2,600 to go from Savannah to Atlanta. Well, that's one load. And my thing was, well, can we get $1,400 and 10 of those loads from you? You know, that was the way we looked at things, just to be able to say, we're trying to work with you and help you, because we want to still have you as a customer when everything starts to calm down. There. So
they might have 30 loads this week, but during this season they have 5, and just enough to keep you busy.
Exactly. And that's exactly what's happening, is their volume has dropped. But you know what? I'm going to call SJW, and I'm going to keep SJW rates the same, because they never overcharged me the past 2 years there, versus some of those other companies that call me and still expect the same rate. I'm not answering my phone. You know, and I you know, I get to hear that person won't answer the phone now, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I saw that coming. I don't know how you didn't see it coming, but I think that has helped us with a lot. We still have had to, you know, suffer with everyone else, slow payments from customers, different things like that. But I also, during that time, to help me prepare for this time, I built relationship with my vendors. A lot of times I would hear my friends saying, I don't know why my sales rep is calling me trying to go out to lunch with me. And I'm thinking, go. There, go. I would do that. I would invite them in, come see our business, come see our operation, see what we have going on, see what our business plan is. Because now when we started to see our customers struggle, which in turn passed to us, I was able to speak with my vendors and say, hey, can y'all help me out with this? Or can y'all give me a little bit more time on this? And it was like, are you serious? You're asking us that? You didn't even have to ask. So I think just building those relationships, a lot of people think because they're a service provider, it's still sales to me. I'm still having to meet with my vendors, even if I'm paying them to build a relationship with them, because you never know how they can help you when you need them.
Everything is sales.
Yes.
Everything. And Stacy just put a comment here. Ryan, can you pull it
Yeah,
up?
of course.
So this is like this is what the show is all about. So Stacy's asking if you're a member of Women in Trucking. If not, she's gladly going to pay for your first year's membership. Like, that's
you,
collaboration.
Yes.
So you guys got to get in touch with each other if you're not
Oh,
DM
100%.
each
And just a
other.
little context with that, Dan, is just that when Jeff and I were doing the show, we did Empowering Women into Logistics. And that's what it was about. We should have had you on during that time, but it's even better that we can have a full conversation now. And it's about lifting others. And I'm just smiling through your whole response, Seretha, because you are what somebody like myself aspires to be like. You're about long term. You're about your team. You're about your family. And you know that, hey, I need to take like a 6 months. Like when you talked about saving, I was like, oh my god, there's no reason, there's no wonder why you've won so many awards already. I think you won 2022. I think you won an award through there, and it's just to kind of see the recognition that's coming, and you and your team are just gonna go to high places. I just you put the customer first, and being that, not the price gout. Like I'm just amazed, and I'm just not amazed. I'm just really happy because often enough, and Dan, you can agree with this, and I'm pretty sure you agree with this too, Sarita, is that we hear about the negativity about logistics. We're hearing about the double broker, and we're hearing about, oh, rates are at this, and it's always a broker versus carrier. Well, you're somebody who's doing both, and you're finding that sweet spot where you can be truly a provider for your customers. So I think kudos to you. I think this is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. And one thing you said I want to talk about is that finding that sweet spot, right? Because we're on both sides, and that is what I have to tell my agents. And one thing I don't play with my agents is the same thing I do on my trucking side. We got to find that balance for our customers. Yes, we need to be fair to the carriers and the drivers and even to our own assets, because we do have operational expenses that are very expensive. But at the same time, we got to be fair to our customer there, because they're not going to make that sale if it doesn't get shipped and they can't afford to do shipping, right? So find that balance on what a carrier will take it for, and what, and sometimes, I tell my team, you can't always make the highest percentage of what you hear other people are making, because if your customer is giving you volume, you need to balance it out and then go find you some more customers there to keep going. But don't try to make all your money off one person. It's never going to work in life.
No, it might work for a couple of weeks, but it's never going to work long term. Our main man Dean always says, "Got to leave something on the table for somebody else."
Exactly. And I always tell them that it's enough money out here to go around. So if you got the right plan,
I feel like I say that daily, Serena.
I know.
Yeah,
you are just like, you're an exact match to this show. It's awesome. Amazing.
So we can't thank you enough, Sarita, for being a part of this. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully you had amazing. Tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, how they can get a hold of your amazing company, any kind of cool things coming up.
Absolutely. So we're located here in the Lithia Springs, Georgia area, which is the outer skirts of Atlanta, Georgia. It's near Six Flags, if anybody is familiar with that Six Flags area. So I can also be found on LinkedIn under my name, Seretha Willingham. We do have a page on LinkedIn, SJW Logistics. So please go follow our page to keep up with us. I can also be found on Instagram at SJW Logistics, and we also have a Facebook page at SJW Logistics as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome to kind of see. So, with that being said, this is Sales Chatter Live. We are live every single day at 11 a.m., bringing you value, like we said, with the mission of helping 10,000 reps hit a million GP. If you found value in this, which I know you did, please like, comment, share, subscribe, share it with a friend, a neighbor, your spouse, and the Amazon driver who's bringing you your packages today, because we all know you definitely placed an order on Amazon Prime last night. That being said, Dano, take us home, my man.
All right. Seretha, thank you so much for being here. You're such an inspiration. Stacy, thank you for the collab right there. This is what it's all about. You know what I would say today, go out there and collaborate with somebody. Go out there and offer like what Stacy just did. That's my call to action for all you salespeople today. Help somebody that you maybe not even think need the help, but just make that collaboration. You just made a connection today that's going to last forever. Make sure you make those connections. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
See you guys tomorrow. Take care, everybody.